So I figured it might be a good moment that, yeah, I can just chat about something. I was watching Inventing Anna, only the first episode. No, I lie. The first and second episode, I think I saw 2 episodes so far, and they were, yeah, quite okay. It's not my favorite program so far. I'm not necessarily captivated by it, and I also read a couple of reviews before watching it, and I was also trying to understand, like, what was this obsession with Anna. Yeah, I didn't really get it. I didn't find her to be particularly charming, and people didn't describe her as being very nice. Well, not to be judgmental, but at least from the perspective of what people describe to be pretty privilege in the world, I didn't necessarily get the sense that she had that. The actress who plays Anna in the Netflix series is actually probably closer to what you would think Anna would actually look like, but the Anna in real life is quite different. So I was really just trying to understand, like, how did she get away with all the things that she did? And I won't really get into whether I think that what she did was wrong or right or whatever, because it's quite polarized in terms of the opinions. All of the Eat the Rich crowd are very much like pro Anna because they think, well, she scammed people who, yeah, what is the saying? A fool and his money will soon part. So there's that side of the argument, and then there's the other side where it's like, yeah, she did something quite wrong and she allegedly deceived, potentially conned quite a few people. How did she manage to get away with it? I might continue watching it this evening as I'm like braiding my hair, which could take hours, and I'll probably be continuing for the next day or two doing that. But at least in terms of first impressions, I can appreciate the concept of fake it till you make it, because indeed it's not easy in certain industries, in certain geographies even, especially if you're trying to achieve something or work in a particular area or sector or role. A lot of people in the finance industry, I think, adopt a fake it till you make it sort of approach. That's one side of the spectrum. And then you have the other side who, well, I guess that's the whole spectrum. I think a lot of people in finance are kind of taking a fake it till you make it approach, and also they just have to be confident in whatever they're doing, whatever decisions they're making. Because, yeah, a lot of people are relying on the decisions they take because it shapes the outcome of their financial success. That's for clients, that's for the company, that's for the individual person who's working there themselves. But I think there's also an element for, I don't want to generalize and say women, but probably a lot of women, because I do see many articles popping up talking about imposter syndrome, and then that's compounded even more if you are a woman of color, where, yeah, you feel that maybe a little bit more because maybe lack of representation or whatever your background is, or, you know, you have odds probably stacked against you. Not in all cases. I can probably only speak for myself. I think I am maybe the first person in my family to work in finance. No. Am I? Probably not the first, but I think one of the first. Yeah, so there are a lot of things that I had to learn and challenges that I had to face, and I didn't really have anyone I can turn to in my own family to ask, like, how would I navigate this? How do I deal with this particular thing? I was quite fortunate because I managed to get like a really good mentor who is also like a friend, and had years of experience in the industry, so that was helpful, but it still wasn't enough. Like, I was up against so much when I first started my job that, yeah, I many times asked myself, like, was this the right industry for me? Even though I studied finance, even though I also had an accounting background and a legal background, it is not easy when you start in the actual role. Anyone who works in finance will tell you that, but it is rewarding and it has its pros and upsides to it. And I think also it depends on what type of finance you're doing. I've been pretty fortunate that I managed to get into impact investing, and I feel like on the spectrum of the good versus the bad guys of finance, I think we're a little bit closer, or hopefully a lot closer to the good side of it. So that also gives me encouragement in the work that I'm doing. But one of my colleagues sent me a video the other day, and it was kind of talking about the difference between how men and women sometimes approach certain problems, not to, project gender roles on people, but depending on what you identify as, you might approach something differently just because of how you were raised or conditioned in society. And men tend to have a lot more hubris than women. And I don't know if it's just something about a level of confidence that's instilled in them from childhood that is maybe not as nurtured as much for girls. I don't know if that's necessarily the case for me because I'm pretty much an only child, so it's not that I had a brother and I was treated differently than him or anything of the sort. My mom was always you can do anything you put your mind to, and the sky's the limit kind of parent, so I was very fortunate with her. I think a lot of my doubts came from myself, and I can't necessarily say that those were put on me by society, although I'm sure there's a lot of societal aspects that didn't necessarily help. But I think it was just me questioning in the beginning, and this was about 5 years ago, am I the right person for this? Do I know enough? Am I capable? Obviously, time and time again, I have proven that I know enough, I am the right person, I am capable. But in those early days, in particular, it was really hard, and I felt like I spent a lot of time really trying to prove myself to what I thought was other people, but I was really trying to prove myself to myself. And that kind of taught me that, you can be your toughest critic, more critical than others are of you. A lot of times I'll get positive feedback and I'll be like, thanks, that's very kind of you to say. And someone will say, I'm not being kind, I genuinely believe that you did a good job, or, whatever the compliment might be. And I think it's just, we have to get to this level where we're certain of ourselves, and it's not necessarily that it comes from outside validation, but validating our own capabilities. So not to stray too far from what I wanted to say, but I think the only thing that I like about this series about inventing Anna is that I don't know where this girl got her confidence from, but she just walked in there like she owned the place. And when I said in there, I mean like every single place she walked into. I'm just curious as to how she did that. People are kind of putting labels on her, like asking, is she a sociopath or a psychopath or a narcissist or all these different things? I don't know, and I don't think anyone really knows, unless she's undergone some sort of psychiatric treatment, then who could really diagnose her? Maybe it's none of those things. Maybe she just decided that whatever life she grew up with, that's not the future that she saw for herself, and she just went ahead and did whatever she had to do to succeed, which I strongly disagree with. I don't think that's the right path. There's so many people out there who are succeeding on legal terms and doing it in the right way and not harming others. It is possible to succeed and still be a decent law-abiding citizen. I can say from experience, knock on wood. So it's not necessary to take the route that she did, and I'm not praising her by any stretch of the imagination, because some of the criticism that I saw online is like, why are people talking about her in a positive light? And I'm not talking about her in a positive light or a negative light. It's a neutral light. I'm just wondering, what is it that we can learn from her approach, her, I'm not going to back down sort of demeanor, her, this is what I want and I'm going to go after it. Obviously being cognizant of the needs of others, the feelings of others, right and wrong, but putting all of that into context, the only thing I'm curious about, not so much the rest of the season of the series, or, why she did it, or any of those things. I really just want to understand, what was going on in her mind as she kind of, mustered up the courage to do some of those things or say some of those things that she said. I don't agree with a lot of it, and in that first and second episode, there were a lot of moments where I was absolutely cringing, and I was like, this wouldn't happen in real life, or this is so unrealistic. Like, who would fall for that? But yeah, what you hear a lot of people say, it's not so much what you're saying all the time or what you're doing, but it's the level of confidence behind it. And yeah, if there's one takeaway that I will try to incorporate in my own approach to everything that I do going forward, it would be to do it with an air of confidence. Even if I'm not 100% sure, and I don't mean related to work specifically, but when I'm saying something, when I'm approaching someone, when I'm asking for something, I think the tone of your voice, your like posture, the assertiveness in your tone, it all makes a difference to whether people will buy what you're saying, and not necessarily buy it, but whether they will accept it. And by accept it, I don't mean they say yes immediately, but then they feel like you're confident and that they will take it seriously. So I'm gonna try that going forward, especially because sometimes when I am a little bit nervous or a little bit overwhelmed, I can be anxious, and that's something that I've been trying to work on a lot. And I think if there's a way to replace anxiousness with confidence, I would love to find the secret, but I think there is no secret. It's just one of those things where you have to work through it and maybe kind of confront it, like, okay, I want to do this particular thing or ask for this thing, but I feel anxious about it, and ask yourself, why am I feeling anxious? What is the worst that could happen? What do I have to lose? Who am I approaching? What am I approaching them about? What would be the best sort of strategy to, succeed in this particular endeavor? And I think it can apply to anything, even like asking for an upgrade at the car rental desk when you are at the airport trying to rent the car that you reserved. Like, there's all these sorts of tips and tricks that you find online for just how to negotiate your way through life. And I even recently got this book, Never Split the Difference. I already listened to like 75% of the audiobook, but I thought it's pretty handy to have the hard copy. Well, it's a soft copy, but you know what I mean. And kind of just skim through it and highlight certain things that I want to go back to, which is not as easy with an audiobook. So if there's one thing that you can probably do as a starting point to really replace anxiousness with confidence, is to practice your negotiation skills, work on your posture, work on your tone of voice, and really kind of gather your thoughts and have your argument together before you approach on any topic. And when I say argument, I mean like what you're asking for, like outline what it is, why, all the relevant points, so that you seem prepared. Because I think confidence and preparation and assertiveness will get you pretty far in life. So especially in fields like finance, I think law as well goes without saying, probably also medicine. So whatever career path you're in, and it doesn't even have to be those, it can be like anything you do, you would just have a better experience in life if you approach it being a little bit more sure of yourself. And there's obviously room for a healthy amount of self-doubt, because I think it's the politicians and world leaders that are overconfident and that have a huge hubris that get us into some of the biggest crises. But obviously, if you're not operating on that level, then you're not going to cause as much trouble as they would. But even for them, I think it's important to have a healthy amount of self-doubt. But I think you need to check that with, a question of whether it's anxiousness or if it's really relevant and it's something that you need to take into consideration. If it's just anxiousness and what you're doing is genuinely important, and not just important for you, important for other people, and has some greater benefit besides just serving yourself, then it's probably worth pursuing. And if that's the case, then you just have to keep working on yourself until you fight off that imposter syndrome. It never goes away 100%, because every time you move to a new level in life or career or whatever it is you're doing, there's a new set of doubts that will find itself kind of making you question whether you're capable or ready or prepared. But I think if you go into any new endeavor at 100% level, then it will get boring really quickly because you're over-prepared. So I think it's always good to feel like you're ready, take the step, but know that you're not going to be 100% ready and that it will take time to build up to that 100% level. And then by the time you get to the 100%, you're probably going to be ready for a new level, because you have to keep challenging yourself and pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. Anyway, to round off, let's see if I finish the Finding Anna series. I don't really care so much for it in terms of content, but I do like to make a critical analysis of her character and just, yeah, her approach to certain things. And for most of us, we have no interest in finessing hotels or being on yachts or any of these sorts of like seemingly frivolous things. I think one of the downfalls of her character is that she was so obsessed about luxury and being in VIP that she really lost sight of what her actual vision was. Like, if she really wanted to open this club for artists and to have a home for people who really think like her or are like her, as she said, she really got sidetracked on material things, which really in the end brought her down. I think if you have a vision and there's something you're working towards, don't get sidetracked by material things for sure. Those are not important. What's most important is whatever you think your purpose is and the channels you use to achieve it. So, but let's see what the rest of the series holds. I'll let you know if I finish it or not. I probably will, because I have this hard time of starting things, even books, and not finishing them. So I'm probably gonna finish it, but I'll be hate watching it. So let's see.